Hi, it's Gemma Whitehouse here with the Home-Start Surrey podcast. And with me today, we have Alex Vickers from S&J Media and George Farley from Home-Start in Guildford.
Hello.
Nice to see you both.
You too, Gemma.
Lovely to be here.
So we're mixing things up a bit today. So we've got Alex with us. And we would just like to know, first of all, George, how did you first find out about Home-Start?
Well, I very first found out about it was through you, Gemma, because you were volunteering and had a family with lots of babies.
That's right.
And seemed really engaged and happy with your sort of new role. So that got me thinking at the time, but it wasn't quite right for me to do it then, just with my own sort of family logistics. And then a couple of years later, I saw an advert for Home-Start Guildford.
Now, where did you see the advert? Because this is crucial.
Oh,
can you remember?
I probably actually can't.
Okay.
Oh, I'm really sorry, I can't remember. I think it was a billboard somewhere. And anyway, I saw an advert and sort of sent off an email and said, and they were looking for volunteers, and there was a course starting fairly soon after that. So yeah, I got going then.
It was obviously all meant to be.
All meant to be.
How long have you been with Home-Start, George?
So I've been volunteering for almost 2 years now. I started my course with them September 2 years ago. And obviously we're nearing the end of this year now. So yeah, I've been volunteering with a family for 2 years.
And how did you find the training course?
I was quite surprised initially how long it was going to be. I thought, gosh, that's, quite a lot of hours each week. And for, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks. And I was quite surprised it was going to be that long. But then once we got involved, I realised quite how many different things needed to be covered, subject area wise, how to help families and different scenarios we might come across. So showed me then it was invaluable, that number of hours spread over time as well, to make sure that we'd managed to cover all of those areas.
And was it all done in person?
Yes. So I think the course before I'd joined, they'd had an online version because of the lockdown situation. But I think, the first course that Guildford had run face-to-face since then. So we were all face-to-face in a room together, which was, it was really nice actually to have that.
It is actually really nice because the coordinators can get to know you and everything.
Yes, and we all got to know each other as well as a cohort. And we've some people we've sort of kept in touch with, and actually as a group we had a little WhatsApp group, and we've had a couple of nights out as well. So it's been really nice to, and if there was a problem, I've got that sort of group to always lean on if I needed to.
If we were to paint the picture of potentially any of our listeners that are looking to potentially, join the Home-Start family per se, what does the initial training look like? Because I'm not trying to be naive at all. I know very little about Home-Start. I know that you're very family orientated and you look after your families, but for someone that would potentially be looking to join, what does the initial training stage look like?
So before I started the training, I had to have a little interview. It wasn't really a major interview, just have a chat, and I'd filled in a form and just to get to know who you were and were you this right sort of suitable person. And then once the training started, it was once a week on a Wednesday, and it ran for about 4 to 5 hours on that Wednesday morning. And in group exercises, small groups, larger groups. We might have got the flip charts out and the post-it notes and felt a bit old school, but it was really fun and interactive. And sometimes the coordinators would chat to us about things. Other times we'd be looking at different scenarios and have our opinion and just sharing thoughts and ideas on different situations.
So on the Wednesday, obviously you got your training day. On the other days of the week, would you then go out and then shadow another mentor? Or,
no, that really was it to start with. That was sort of 6 or 8 weeks that we had that. We had a little break for half term. I think they're quite conscious that quite a lot of people have their own children. And then after the training had finished, it was then that we started being matched with a family.
And how long did it take you from you finishing your training to be matched? Can you remember?
Yes, so I think I could have been matched quicker than I was. I was quite conscious that we were actually going to be away for a couple of weeks over Christmas, and I didn't really want to be matched with a family and then have to say, oh, sorry, I can't now come for 2 or 3 weeks because we're not around. I didn't feel like it was the right thing to do. I wanted to be able to say, yes, I'm here and I can come weekly. So I actually waited until the new year. Unfortunately, then I think I had COVID. They might have had COVID. So we got a little bit delayed. But by February, after the course had finished, I think in the November, that's when we actually matched. But there was a few circumstances why it took a little bit longer. I think most people had their families a little bit sooner than I did.
And how did you find that first visit?
So we had a little matching visit to start with. The coordinator came with me to meet the family. So it's a relatively short visit, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, just to introduce each other and make sure that that was something that was going to work. And that was fine, really, because I was with the coordinator, so it wasn't too nerve-wracking. And I met the mum and her children in her own home. And so that meant that the first visit I had, when it was just me there, didn't feel quite so intimidating or worrying.
Yeah, because it's quite a thing going into a stranger's house for the first time.
Yes, and I think it must be quite a thing for them accepting us in there. They obviously worry that might be being judged or whatever, which we're not. But, you can imagine that they might be feeling a little bit nervous. So trying to put them at ease as much as possible.
And how did you find it once you kind of got going and it became like a regular thing in your week to go and visit your family?
Yeah, I had a lovely family that I was helping. She was a lovely mum that just needed a bit more of a boost to get her going again. And it obviously takes time to get to know people, and particularly the children. I think having had lockdown, both of her children probably hadn't had as much exposure to strangers around and other people looking after and playing with them as perhaps my own children had by the age that they were. So that probably took a little bit more time to gain their trust that I was someone that it didn't matter if mummy left them with them. But it was lovely to week by week. And I think I was there for 2.5 hours each week. And you do get to know them quite quickly and what they like playing with and things like that. It was nice.
It's a wonderful thing to do. And I'm so pleased that you have done that, because literally just chatting to me, you found out. And we do say that word of mouth is one of the strongest marketing tools there is.
Yes.
So by doing this, we're really hoping to reach more people. What would you say to somebody who was considering becoming a Home-Start volunteer?
I would say if you've got one morning a week and that's all it takes, and you can juggle your other things around, go for it. It's really rewarding. And I'm on my second family now, and it's been so lovely to see my first family grow and become, self-sufficient again, and being able to have that confidence to take her family forward as a mum, because, she was really struggling to start with. And it's such a rewarding thing to see that sort of journey that she's gone through. And so I think everyone gets something out of it.
Definitely. I always say it's a two-way street. And what do your family think about you doing Home-Start?
They're really supportive. In fact, my own children are getting a little bit older now, but in the holidays, they sort of say to me, "Mummy, you must go. She needs you more than we do. We'll be fine. We can look after ourselves for a few hours." And so they're really supportive and understand that, I'm going off to help somebody. They think it's a really good thing.
Oh, that's really, really nice. And so as your children get older and are going to leave the nest, can you see yourself still volunteering for Home-Start sort of long term, do you think?
I can't see myself stopping anytime soon. I think I've done 2 years, and I don't know how long I'll be around for, but I can't see it stopping. I don't see why it should. I've got the time. I'm lucky enough that I have got the time, and I really like that. I like the fact that it's in my diary once a week, and that's what I'm committed to, and it's really nice.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm just interested to know what your career was before you had your children.
Oh, so I'm a chartered accountant by trade. So I trained at PwC and worked there for a number of years. And then in between children, I then went on to do more training at another company where you learn to do the accountancy exams. So I was a teacher in a classroom, but for adults. Did that for a number of years, and then eventually stopped. We moved house and moved out of London, and we did a big home project. So that took quite a lot of time.
Yeah, so do you think Home-Start is a really good way for mums who've potentially given up their career to have a family to kind of get back out there, not even necessarily as an employee, but do you think it's a great thing to do post-children?
I think it's really good because you've had the children, so you have got that experience to be able to at least help offer some advice to some of these families that need a little bit more help. It is flexible, although I try and stick to one morning a week or one afternoon a week. There is some flexibility in there, so you can hopefully work it around other commitments.
And you are still allowed to go on holiday.
And you are still allowed to go on holiday. And, no, if you can't make it one week, that's also fine. Everybody understands.
Yeah, what we do say is actually at the end of the day, your family are the most important family.
Yes.
You don't just give up everything for this.
Your life shouldn't be put on hold just because you're helping others. You've still got to look out for number one. You've got to look out for yourself and your family.
Absolutely. And with my previous family that I was helping, I know I had a phone call from one of my children. It was in the school holidays when I was there, and they'd rung me up and said, "Mummy, I'm really not very well. Please, can you come home?" And the mum really understood that, I did need to go home and look after my own children.
And I think when you go into the families that you're working with, and when they see that you're a parent yourself, they are going to be a bit more forgiving. They will understand that, mummy duties, they are still there. And, I'm 26 years old. I still live at home with my mum and dad. And my mum still is very much mothering me every day. And I probably am a bit of a mummy's boy at the end of the day. But yeah, it's nice. It's good. It's nice to hear all about it and learn a little bit more about Home-Start myself.
Yeah, it's such a great way to give an insight into what it's like to be a volunteer. So how did you find it when you ended with the first family? How was that?
Oh gosh, I did find that a little bit sad. I know it was quite good though. The coordinator was the one that talked to the mum about it coming to an end. It did feel like it was a natural point. The elder child was starting at school. Mum had made great progress in her own confidence. She was back at work 2 days a week. So, things had moved on, and I definitely had probably become a nice to have rather than a need anymore.
That's exactly what we say. When it becomes a nice to have, that's when you know that it's potentially time to move on.
Yes, but then again, we got into a nice routine of the first day of the month when I used to go. There was a gardening club we'd go to, and then there was, different things and little outings we'd do on different weeks. And, obviously seeing those children, and it was sad to say goodbye, but I know I've left her in a good place. I have been back to see her a couple of times since, and I think we will keep in touch.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, that's something that we say if, as a volunteer, if you do want to keep in contact, that's completely up to you. That's not something that Home-Start, have to be involved with. That's completely up to you.
Yeah, and it might not happen with every family, but that, I don't know whether it was my first family or whether I made a particular connection with that mum. We had a few things in common, which was quite nice. I'm from a farming background, and she'd got some farming blood in her as well. So we had little things in common like that. So I think maybe in that situation, it feels more natural that I'd want to keep in touch with her.
Yeah, that is so lovely. It's so lovely to hear. And I think it's absolutely amazing what you do. So I just want to say a big thank you to you for giving up your time, not only to be a volunteer, which you literally came straight from today.
I did.
But to also come and chat with us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, Alex, have you got any burning questions?
Oh, any burning questions? I think one that I was thinking of when you're talking away is kind of like, I suppose it probably would differ depending on the scenarios, why you've been matched with this family, but what's typically the length of time that you'd spend with one family?
I think different Home-Start areas do it differently to others, but Guildford tend to say around 9 to 12 months, ideally, is what they're looking for. That's what they think. But there's no definite. So some families don't need as long. Some families need a little bit longer. My first family was more like 16 months in the end, but it came to a natural end because it was the summer holidays and the old one was going to school. So that felt more natural. I think the Guildford say for them a typical is 9 to 12 months. Okay. They're aware of other areas that say, I'm sorry, it's 6 months and unfortunately that's all you can have. So I think different areas work slightly differently.
Does it then depend on as well as how many hours a week you spend with that family, or is that set to 2.5 hours as well?
No, they just say what you can give. Ideally more than an hour, but 2.5 hours is probably more than enough. So my current family, I'm going for a couple of hours, and that seems to be enough. And I think that is down to you as a volunteer. Obviously, you don't want to be doing it giving too many hours, because then that eats in for everybody's time, and you don't want to become a burden on the family themselves, but somewhere between 1 hour to 2 hours.
You don't want it to get to a point where, you know, we'll make up the spare bedroom for you. You can move in.
You can move in, exactly.
But no, it's lovely. No, thank you ever so much, George. It's been lovely to sit and listen to you. It's been
nice to be here. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Me. You too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gemma.
Hi, I'm Hayley Sims, and this is my book Dear Anonymous. It's about mental health, people's experiences that were around me and my own, and you can buy it on Amazon, Waterstones or Austin Macaulay website.